Karine, do you think that's even realistic? I mean, you think she's going to get indicted?
No, I actually don't think she's going to be indicted. Look, if we look at all the information that we currently have today, not 6 months from now, but the information that we have today, there was no criminal activity. Look, Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton, has apologized, and she said, look, I made a mistake. And yes, does she have to work on regaining the Americans' people's trust? Most definitely, absolutely. But here's the thing, Eric, I think what the emails does show, that what we have seen in email, is this was a Secretary of State that was completely and totally engaged, never turned off the light, was constantly trying to fix and figure out how do we make things better. If you read her emails, you see that.
But
and I think that's the type of person that we want.
Karine, last word.
No, I was just going to say, look, we can't control when this investigation is going to end or when they're going to come out with their verdict.
The Attorney General can.
Well, we don't know, but I'm saying that we don't know when it's going to happen. Yes, you're saying the Attorney General can, that's fine, but we still don't know when it's going to happen. In the meantime, we have to deal with what's here and now, and right now...
It needs to happen by April 8th.
Okay, great. Right now, there is no criminal activity. Right now. I don't know what's going to happen 6 months from now.
Facts suggest otherwise.
Well, I am talking about the facts. I am.
That'll have to be the last word on that as this continues.
It is very diverse. You know, it's not an easy state to conquer, if you will. How does he do that?
So, look, I think Trump has this bombastic, resilient, larger-than-life personality, which is why he is doing so well in New York and also these Northeast Excella states, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, and to some extent Maryland. So he's going to do really well. He'll probably win all of them. For New York in particular, having grown up in New York and cut my teeth in New York City politics, the further you get away from New York City, the more conservative it is, especially in the suburbs, in the rural area, and I think he'll do well there. And I think those are the areas that it's going to be interesting to see how they break. He has an amazing grassroots organization that we've seen. Look what happened in Colorado. He was able to sweep all of those delegates there. So most definitely, but it's going to be tough. But like Ford said, if he can, there are 3 delegates in each of the 27 CDs, and that's the game that he's playing. It's probably why we saw him in the Bronx. Just to go back to what we were saying earlier, it's about the grassroots organization that he's been able to successfully execute, and that's what he's doing. Look, yeah, we made fun of him about being in the Bronx, but it's true. He's trying to get those 3 delegates, trying to get to 20%, and he's just been so good at it, and that's the thing to watch as we're going into the other states.
We are going to work together, but I am ahead. And let's start from that premise while we talk about what happens next, okay?
Karine, I'll start with you. I mean, you could hear the frustration in her voice there, and she's right. I mean, you add in the superdelegates, and she's only about 400 or so short of the 2,383 needed to clinch the nomination. So why are we continuing to go down this path?
Well, look, she's the presumptive nominee, but can't quite claim the title yet, right? And that's the anger that you see there from last night. But look, I think the call for Bernie Sanders to drop out is a little premature. He's still very much drawing big, large crowds, right? Tens of thousands of people are coming out to see him. His message is resonating, and he's energizing, right? He's energizing that base, that youth, that critical youth vote that Democrats are going to need, and she can't afford to alienate that critical voting bloc, because as we saw in 2008, without that youth vote and all their coalition, Obama wouldn't have made it to the White House. So I think that's really important for her to realize, and her campaign to remember, that you can't alienate Bernie Sanders right now. And as Rachel Maddow started off with her question, she was in the race 4 days past the last primary contest, and when it was all said and done, when she was asked to, bring everybody together, and I was on the Obama campaign in 2008, we were on pins and needles, and she brought everybody together. All her supporters she delivered to Obama.
We're not a movement where I can snap my fingers and say to you or to anybody else what you should do, because you won't listen to me. You shouldn't. You'll make these decisions yourself.
So, Karine, that was just what you were referencing. I mean, he's not willing to do that yet. Today, he is behind in at least 4 of the 5 states where delegates are up for grabs. What should he do should he come out today and tonight with losses across 5 states?
Look, I don't think he's going to drop out. I think he'll take this to California till June 7th, which is fine. You know, I think both candidates have brought, you know, a lot of voters out to come out and vote in the primary for Democrats. And whoever's the nominee, they're going to be a better candidate in the general election. I think he'll come around. I really do. I think in 2008, it was a lot more contentious between Obama and Clinton, and she was able to deliver her supporters to Obama. And I think he'll come around and he'll have a great speaking spot at the convention if he's not the nominee, and he'll deliver his supporters. I truly believe that.
And he's really an independent. I mean, Karine, we only have a brief moment left to wrap it up. But in terms of the different things, like the $15 minimum wage, the Wall Street banks, the banning fracking, are those all issues that Hillary Clinton does need to embrace in order to get his supporters over on her side? She does say now that she's in favor of the $14 minimum wage.
Yeah, most definitely. I think she's going to have to embrace those different planks that Bernie Sanders is bringing forth, especially if she wants this youth vote that we've been talking about. You know, he's really energized the base and has made this race really exciting, and folks are paying attention. Look at what happened in New York with exit polls showing 7 out of 10 voters said that they were energized about this primary. So I think there's a lot there to consider, Yeah,
so the goal for her needs to be to carry over that excitement into the general election.
Exactly.
Well,
That's right, Heather.
See if she can do that. All right, Karine Jean-Pierre, thank you for joining us, and Chip Saltzman, thank you.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Trump wants Bernie to run as an independent, which of course he knows is a joke, but he wants to do everything he can to keep the division, that Hillary versus Bernie division in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, look, I think that's actually a smart play. Normally I'd be like, oh, this is like a Trump antics that he's normally doing. But this is, what he's trying to do is definitely stop the potential coalescing, right, behind the nominee. So if I was a strategist on the Hillary Clinton campaign, my concern would be, hey, I want to make sure that we do not alienate Sanders voters, right? These youth voters that we keep hearing about that are usually apolitical, but now they're out here and they're voting and they're enthused and they're excited. Got to make sure that these guys are able to cross over and go to Hillary Clinton if she's the nominee, and once that happens at the convention. And there's a couple ways of doing that as a strategy. Number one, she needs to continue talking about her story of 2008 and how she was able to go into the trenches, really convince her supporters, who about 40% at the time said they wouldn't vote for Obama, and continue doing that and saying, hey, I did it. I know I'm not your #1 pick. I'm not your #1 choice, but I did it for Obama. You know, Sanders can do it for me. And also there is like doing a mini campaign that's targeted towards youth voters, which is going to college campuses, bringing back Chelsea Clinton if she can, right? Because she helps to humanize her and really talk about her being a grandmother and a mother, and I think that really, really worked. And also bring back Val on Saturday Night Live. That seems to have worked as well. And one last thing is the White House Correspondents' Dinner is happening this Saturday. I know it's inside ball game, but Obama did a great job, you know, doing his dinners, and maybe she can get a cameo there. That'd be a lot of fun. And we saw him skewer Donald Trump in 2011.
Karine, the Republican war room, the Trump war room, has a problem that I don't see at this point in the Hillary Clinton war room, which is Donald Trump's going to have to change in many ways who he is in order to appeal to a majority of voters. In the Clinton war room tonight, are they looking at the general election and saying, here are some of the fine-tuning adjustments we need to make from the primary message to the general election message?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think it's been happening for some time now. And
what would be an example of that?
Well, I think it's basically, okay, we know that, for example, Trump has, you know, said, hey, the woman card today, right? And she said, deal me in. It was last night he said it. She said, deal me in. And I think, and his negatives are at 69%, right? That's a great place to go to start really thinking about, okay, how are we really going to push that? What's the opposition research that's out there, that's still out there on Trump? Who are some surrogates that we can put out there? I think Madeleine Albright was on was on the internet today just tweeting about Donald Trump and everything that he's saying about women. And I think that's one way. That's definitely an entry point that they need to continue to explore and really take that on.
I just want to read a little bit from the statement that the Clinton campaign put out when they released this woman card. We've been hearing from supporters all over the country that they would like a woman card of their very own to proudly display on a fridge or pull out of their wallet every time they run into someone who says women who support Hillary must not be using our brains. Karine, good idea. Would you like a woman card in your wallet?
I would love a woman card in my wallet. Absolutely. Might get one today. But look, the Clinton campaign is embracing it, as they should. They're leaning in. You know, Donald Trump said, hey, she's playing the woman card. She said, deal me in. I think it's a great way to show the contrast between the two candidates, especially as a general election is coming closer and closer. And also, you know, Donald Trump's negatives are 69%, and they are going to continue to increase. And I think it's a dangerous game that Donald Trump is executing as well. When you have, when you are denigrating women and you continue to do that, and you're attacking Hillary Clinton, attacking her is like attacking all women.
I think that's the frame of mind that women are in today. They don't want to be treated especially or differently or carry a little pink card in their wallet to prove that they're smart, to prove that they're important.
Well, I disagree with Mercedes. Look, the general election is a different electorate. And if Donald Trump continues what he's doing right now, he could very well deliver the White House to Hillary Clinton, because Republican independent women are going to go looking at Hillary Clinton and they're going to vote for her and take her there. And so I think that's a dangerous game. 52 to 54% of the general election electorate are women. In 2008 and 2012, Obama won that
You're right.
group.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Karine, last thought.
Well, look, when Republicans attack Hillary Clinton, it never goes well, and we've seen that. It backfires. And I think women should not be bashed by Donald Trump. And so therefore, we need to make sure that that stops.
Karine, should we expect a Bernie Sanders victory in West Virginia?
Yeah, I think that Bernie Sanders will probably win West Virginia and Oregon and have a couple of wins before we get to that final couple of states in June. But that's no surprise. You know, I think that we anticipated that. And if we look at 2008, Hillary Clinton herself, the last 6 contests that came up, she won the 4 out of the 6 before she turned over that primary to Barack Obama. So nothing surprising there.
May is not looking particularly kind to her, Karine.
Yeah, but I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, look, she is leading in the pledged delegates. She is in a better place in 2008, in better place than Barack Obama was in 2008. And so she's in a good place. I think what Bernie Sanders is trying to do, which I appreciate, which is, continue to bring up important issues that are going to be critical for whoever the nominee is in November, in winning in November.
So, Karine, if Bernie Sanders rolls into the Democratic convention, I mean, maybe he's mathematically eliminated, but if he rolls into the Democratic convention with wins in places like West Virginia, I mean, it just gives him more of a platform to say, look, Hillary Clinton is not the nominee, doesn't have the strength that you think she has.
Look, Hillary Clinton won West Virginia in 2008 as well. And like I said, as we all know, she made it through the finish line of the Democratic primary. And what happened? What did we learn from that? The Democrats coalesced. They got behind the nominee, Barack Obama, and it was fine. And that was a much more contested primary election than we have today. Look, exit polls after exit polls have showed that the Democrats are actually excited and happy with the way that the primary is going. But it's true.
The Democrats are not excited at all.
Hold on. No, that is not true. That's what
the finish line here. Come on.
That is not true, Peter. That is what the exit polls are showing from the primaries and the contests that we've had. And look, Peter, hold on a second, Peter, here. While the Republicans are limiting their access, right, limiting their tent because of with their nominee espousing rhetoric.
Hillary Clinton voters barely have a pulse out there. She is limping to the finish line.
No,
there is zero excitement happening on the Democratic side.
Our side is going to have a larger swath of the population. We've done it before in a much more contested election.
So
I have all confidence that we are going to go behind.
I think that people need to feel like they can connect better to her if she's going to be able to unify.
Well, Karine, Bernie Sanders is not having that problem. People do think that he is trustworthy. And is there anything that he can do to help Hillary unify the party and overcome that issue?
Look, Heather, I was part of the Obama campaign in 2008, and I was at the convention in Denver, and we were all on pins and needles waiting to hear what Hillary Clinton was going to say. And what she did is that she leaned in and gave a compelling speech as to why she was supporting President Obama and delivered her supporters to him. So it's doable. I think Bernie Sanders at the convention could do the same. And as we all know, his message of, breaking the big banks, $15 minimum wage has really resonated, and these are the things that the platform that Hillary Clinton and her team have to really take on in order to win those voters, those liberal, progressive, new apolitical voters that he's brought to the table. Look, one of the products of having a Bernie Sanders who started off as a protest candidate and now became a real candidate, right, as we saw very early on in this year, is that now we have these progressive issues that are out there. The Democratic Party is changing, and it's no surprise that Elizabeth Warren is being talked about, and other progressives as well are on the list. So not a surprise. Look, Elizabeth Warren has policies that she's introduced in the U.S. Senate that really speaks to the Democratic base. Not surprising at all. If it's going to work, two women on a ticket, I'm not 100% sure, but we've seen the same gender on the ticket for the last 200 years, and it hasn't affected the ticket at all.
Karine Jean-Pierre, a veteran of the Obama war rooms and Martin O'Malley's war rooms. Karine, what surprised me about the Clinton Super PAC ad is it was basically a copy of the Republican ad, which means where's their idea? Where's their own way of approaching this?
Right. Well, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to remind voters, right? Donald Trump is a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? They're trying to remind them, hey, this is still a wolf that's dressed in sheep's clothing. And so it's really, as they're trying to pivot to the general election, but still have Bernie Sanders in the primary, they're trying to say, hey, let's not forget who this guy really is, and they did this ad. But I think the thing to remember is that what made us successful against Mitt Romney in 2012 is that we had one charge, right? All the Democrats had one charge, and it stuck, and it really worked on Mitt Romney. This time around, there's so much dirt. There's so much dirt on Donald Trump that it's harder to find anything to stick, and we have to figure out what that is.
Karine, I would expect if there was a Clinton campaign spokesperson here tonight, they'd kind of dismiss this poll and try to push it sideways. But in the war room, don't you take these polls and assume they're right? Meaning, you always want to work from the worst case scenario?
Right. Well, look, a poll is a snapshot of what's happening right now. We are in May. The election is not until November, so that you have to keep that in mind. Like, things are going to change. The convention hasn't happened. We still need to pick a VP nominee, but you do have to dig in a little bit and take a look at what's going on. Look, it's not a surprise that Donald Trump is where he is. The Republican Party has coalesced behind him. They've come home, but he has not expanded his base. If you look at where African Americans are in this poll, there's an 83-point spread, right? And so that looks good for Hillary Clinton, so she needs to hold on to that. Where I saw there was a problem there was the Latino vote, which is she needs to continue to build on that.
She doesn't yet have the margin with Latinos in that poll that Barack Obama
in that poll where Barack Obama was. And also with the white vote, the thing that I thought about, because Bill Clinton did this for Obama in 2012, she's going to have to put him out there to help her with the white vote because Donald Trump is certainly commanding that.
Conservatives charge that organizations on the left, like MoveOn.org, are behind the protest and violence. MoveOn has said it did promote and print signs for the Chicago protest in March, but it insists it is not violent and there's no evidence connecting it to violence. They blame Trump for the escalation. Karine Jean-Pierre is with MoveOn.org.
He is responsible. He is standing on stage behind a podium, and he is applying for the job of the United States. And what he is doing is saying it's okay to punch a peaceful protester. And this is not okay. It is a problem, and this is hatred and bigotry and racism that he's putting out there.
Look, Bill, you can't parse out what you like or don't like about Donald Trump, because he has put misogyny, racism, bigotry, xenophobia, and violent rhetoric as the center, as the hallmark of his campaign. So by saying, hey, you know what, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat because, because I can't, I don't want to, or it's, it's a bad idea. No, that's not okay, because what you're saying is that I'm going to vote for a racist Republican instead of a Democrat. And there's no surprise here. This is what Donald Trump has been doing for the past year. This is the type of rhetoric that he's been putting out, and this is what helped him win the GOP
regardless,
nomination.
I mean, anytime a Republican does an interview, they're asked about Trump, and I think they knew that, and perhaps that was the hesitation. Karine, the economy, that's a liability for her. When you think about, the Fed was going to raise, and now they probably won't, and everybody's thinking about the economy again.
Look, Donald Trump has been the nominee for over 5 weeks now, and instead of reintroducing himself and rebranding himself, he decides that he's going to double down on an American judge who happens to have a Mexican heritage. He refuses to release his personal taxes, and then he goes to New Mexico and insults the only Latina governor and first Latina governor. So look, the Republicans are not only losing their party of Lincoln to a bigot, but they're also potentially going to lose the House and also the Senate.
It's a whole new campaign, ladies. More to come next week. Thank you, Karine.
Thank you, Bill.
Lisa.
Thank you, Bill.
I mean, what would be the fallout if Donald Trump, let's say, decided to do what he actually did during the Republican primaries? In one case, he skipped the debate and claimed he was doing a charity fundraiser for the military. We're going to talk about a little bit about that later. But what would be the fallout if, let's say, he just said, I'm not going?
Right. I mean, just to touch on what you just said here is that, look, he just stood there most of the time on the debates, right? He stood there, didn't say anything at all. He allowed everybody else to argue against each other, so because they were arguing to try to be the alternative to him, right? And then all of a sudden he would be like, I'm going to pick this person and I'm going to back them up. And then it came down to 3. By the time it came down to 3, the momentum was so far gone, it was too late. And then he was like, I'm done with debating. Here's what I think is going to happen. So he's talking about the rigged system right now. The next pivot he'll do is be like, I want the libertarian to be in this debate, because he doesn't want her to be mano-a-mano with her, right? He's going to want to have other people in the debate, whether it's Jill Stein or the Libertarian, which could be, right? He was, I think, at 13 at some point in one of the polls. So I think that's what he's going to try and do and make that argument, right? Like, it should be fair. We should have everyone in.
On that point of ad spending, Karine, so far the Clinton campaign, in terms of what they've spent on general election campaign ads, and they and outside groups combined have spent $57 million. A lot of it to run that really devastating ad with little kids listening to Donald Trump's rhetoric. The Trump side has only spent $3.6 million.
Yeah, well, this goes into the conversation we just had, which is that there's no real campaign here. We don't see any inkling of a traditional campaign at all. And while Clinton and Kaine are out there talking about jobs, he's insulting the mother of a fallen soldier. I mean, it's actually insane. And then he allows himself to get baited to tweet and constantly is out of control. So yes, there is no money, there is no real campaign. He's not building in the key battleground states that are very important in winning in this election.
And it sounds like they're probably almost writing off Colorado. You do have different perceptions of the country's either its greatness, and I think that we can unpack that for a lot of different reasons, but even whether the economy is good. I mean, there is lots and lots of polling that shows that Republicans believe the country is doing really, really poorly, even though the macroeconomic data say that it's not. Why, Karine, do you suppose that that is?
Well, here's what happened. The last 7.5, 8 years, you had Republicans on all level, right, whether it was the federal level, state level, local level, saying how badly the economy was, right? And then, most recently, for a year, you had 14, 16 candidates saying, hey, we're in a disarray, we're going down the tank, the tubes. And so when you have people talking about how negative it is, of course, folks are going to perceive that there is something wrong. But the numbers, as you stated, stated, the data is the data. Hey, in Michigan, the auto industry had one of the best years that they've had in a long, long time. And so it's the making of the Republican establishment, the Republican leaders. This is why we are where we are today, with Republicans feeling.
We have to get a quick wrap up here. So, Karine, so what essentially Amy has said is deregulation, which is a pretty standard Republican idea. It's not a Donald Trump idea, but somehow a guy who outsources for a living, or essentially that's how he's conducted his business. I'm not sure I understood her answer, but do you?
No, I don't understand her answer. I mean, you said it perfectly. He outsources everything that he's done, every product that he has, he's outsourced that product. He has yet to proven that he could be a leader or even has the temperament to be president of the United States. So it's not there. Look, we have 99 days before the election, right? And the national polls don't matter. This race is going to be a ground game, and we have to look at the battleground states. There's a reason why she went to Ohio. There's a reason why she went to Pennsylvania. Hey, there's a reason why she's in Nebraska today, and it's close, right? So so Democrats have to fight for every vote, and what they care about is jobs, the economy, health care. That's what voters actually care about.
They did speak at a political convention, right, with a political message. Does he have a leg to stand on when he says that? They have been out giving many interviews.
Rule number one, you do not insult the family of a Gold Star family. You just don't go there. And how could you be interviewing for commander-in-chief and show little to no respect for the family of a fallen hero, a fallen soldier? It's just, it just continues to show, like, when he gets attacked, he just, he just slings insults. That's what he does over and over again, to the point where today or the last couple of days, he's been going after the fire marshal at his town hall.
And we know, Karine, that the words that President Obama just delivered about the matter of fact, Trump being unfit to hold that office. We know the baton he wants to pass goes straight to Hillary Clinton, that was a member of his cabinet. Why do you think, or do you think, that these words will have an effect on voters who are now just starting to click in and pay attention after the conventions?
Well, I think you just said it, Tom, as voters are starting to pay attention and click in, and especially after Labor Day, we'll see more of that. Look, there are only 5 living U.S. presidents out there that can really speak to what it's like to be commander-in-chief, and 2 of them are Republicans who have not endorsed Donald Trump. So, yes, the president gave a remarkable, unprecedented rebuke against Donald Trump, which is very important because, as we've seen, Donald Trump just continues to espouse hateful rhetoric and dehumanize groups of people. And him going after the Gold Star family, a Gold Star family was actually, the thing that probably will continue to get traction, because at the end of the day, it's not a Democratic issue and it's not a Republican issue. It's actually just un-American and just very insulting.
Now he has a lot of Democrats trying to say that he's mentally unstable. He's turned it successfully in his opponents before. He's trying to do it now. Could he succeed?
Well, here's the thing. Here's what we need to remember about Donald Trump. He is a ruthless, diabolical businessman. He knew exactly what he was doing in 2012, 2011, when he was the spokesperson for the birth movement. He knew exactly what he was doing 13 months ago when he launched his campaign attacking Mexicans.
So you're crazy like a fox cat.
No, but I'm just saying he knows what he's doing, and we're giving him an excuse, and he is. It's not about his sanity. It's more of like, he knows he is actually zeroing in on that populist base, and that's how he got that 13 million people. I was just going to say, look, unfortunately, it's a distraction that she doesn't need. She needs to stay out of the weeds. She needs to stop talking like she's a lawyer when she's asked about this question. The message that she needs to be on is, look, I made a mistake. I would never do it again, and leave it there and move on. A good day for Hillary Clinton is when we're talking about Donald Trump racing down a rabbit hole. That's a good day for her.
Democratic strategist Karine Jean-Pierre joins the panel now. All right, Karine, so same question to you, because when you're dealing with a typical campaign, you know there are going to be attacks. The Clintons, being Clintons, knew there were going to be 90s things. There were maybe things about Bill Clinton. There were things about NAFTA. Like, they had a set of things they knew were coming, right? There has been Clinton derangement syndrome around for a long time. But how do you prepare for this kind of asymmetry to basically fight the Breitbart world?
That's such a good question, Joy, because because it's been so unpredictable and so crazy. Look, I mean, this is what happened today is a great bookend, right, for them to what we saw yesterday. The rumors of Roger Ailes coming on board, you know, a serial, you know, harasser, and now they have this guy from Breitbart, and we know Breitbart is a dumpster fire for bigotry, for racism, for misogyny, just like the Trump campaign and birds of a feather flock together. And so I think for what they need to do is what they started to do is putting this front and center and not letting this go, because this is basically Donald Trump doubling down on a divisive campaign and doubling down on the misogyny, doubling down on the bigotry, and they have to put that out there, whether it's Hillary Clinton or her surrogates. They cannot let this go. That's his campaign. They just lie and lie and lie. He can never tell the truth. Look, this is a distraction, right? His poll numbers are tanking, and when that happens, it's like, oh, emails, oh, Benghazi, oh, now her health. And it's just part of this, you know, hateful right-wing conspiracy that they continue to do over and over and over again. Here's the thing. Here's the real story. To me, the real story, as we're talking about micro-targeting, is that he doesn't even have a campaign in any of these battleground states. And how are you going to get to 270? There is no path to 270 for him, and we see that in the polling, right? And so I think, to me, that's the real story. Like, this is what this game, being a strategist, having done campaigns, I would be in the war room thinking 270, 270, and right now he's stuck at 164.
Karine Jean-Pierre, as you listen to Donald Trump Jr. talk about his dad's not pandering, not willing to pander to audiences, what goes through your mind?
Well, the one thing that he is right about is that his dad is not pandering to African-American voters. What he's doing is slandering African-Americans, and he's doing this in front of an all-white audience and saying to them, hey, you know, African-Americans live in urban hellholes, and that's what he's doing. And it's, by the way, as we all know, which is not true. So I am actually curious to see how this is going to go for him on Saturday at this church that he's going to in Detroit, because I'm curious to see, is he going to use the same message? Is he going to say, hey, you guys live in a war zone? Hey, you guys, if you walk down the street, you're going to get shot? So I think that that's what's happening. It's a slandering. There's always this argument about why do African Americans go with the Democratic Party? They go to the Democratic Party because they're actually a large constituency of the Democratic Party. They actually have leadership roles in the Democratic Party. The Republican Party doesn't do that. They don't talk about policies for the African American community. African Americans are actually sophisticated, smart voters. Just like white voters vote for their self-interest, so does African Americans. And hold up, one more thing I just want to say. Look, we talk about the poverty rate. Under Reagan, the poverty rate skyrocketed. It went down with Clinton. This is all proven. These are facts. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then again, wait, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me just finish my point. And then it went back up with Bush, and then went down with Obama. Polling has showed that majority of voters actually care about about him releasing his personal taxes. That's number one. Number two, what is he hiding? Like, why not release your taxes? The last 9 Republican presidential nominees have all released their taxes. So I don't understand, what is it that Donald Trump is releasing? Now we know that it's no longer, the 2002, the 2008 are no longer under audit. There's a reason for him not to. He said that he would. When he announced his presidential candidacy, he said that he would release his taxes. So I'm not understanding the argument now, or the holdback. Just to follow up on what the congressman was saying here, look, I worked for the president during that time in 2011 when this all started, when Donald Trump actually decided to be the grand wizard of the birther movement. He decided that. No one told him to do that. That's how he decided to introduce himself to the political, to the political sphere. And it was so insulting as a black woman who was working for the first African-American president. It was incredibly insulting that he had to release a long-form birth certificate to prove that he was born here.
But why? Why?
Because the guy that you support,
I don't have anything to hide.
Because the guy that you support was leading this movement. Just to add to what Chris just said, look, he did this throughout the primary, right? He did 2 things. He claimed victory, and then secondly, he would complain that the debate was rigged. He did it over and over and over again. And of course he did it this time because he was unprepared. He showed the American people that I don't even care enough about this job interview that I'm doing, that I'm not going to prepare. Let's just boil this down. Right? It's just yet another example of who the real Donald Trump is, period. So if we had any questions about, did Donald Trump call women a slob? Did Donald Trump call women fat? Here it is. The evidence is
overwhelming. We keep hearing about it over and over again. And he interjected all of this in the last 14, 15 months. This has come out of the mouth of Donald Trump.
We don't know that it came out of the mouth of Donald Trump.
Yes, many of the
You've heard
pigs
on the debate stage.
Dogs on debate. This is what he has said. Look, he is not the person that our daughters can look up to. The makeup of the population in this country is more than 50% women, and he does not see them as equal to men.
Last 30 years.
No, we're talking about Donald Trump. Look, while Hillary Clinton was promoting women's rights across the country, Donald Trump was here, like just saying awful things about women. The problem is Donald Trump is not in the business of apologizing. If he was, he would be apologizing every day.
We got to take a break.